Okay. Thank you all. Thank you for joining. We are about to start. We'll get started shortly. So just another minute or so. So a couple of ground rules before we start. Let me shout out a few ground rules. My request all the attendees to take advantage of this session and use this chat window for networking, and any questions that you may come across during the session, please put that questions on the chat window. We will look into this and bring those questions during the question and answer session. And there is presenter actually requested for 2 or 3 pages as well as a pen. This might be going to be a interactive session. So please go ahead and keep those in handy. If you don't have immediately next to you a couple of minutes, please go ahead and bring those along with you. Last but not the least, we will be getting whoever has the PMI ID correctly provided during the registration, they will be awarded one PDU automatically. So please give us a week time. Generally, it will be 2 or 3 working days, but a week's time is better to get these into your account. So that's being said, thank you, Kamal Soan, who is our presenter today. And today's webinar is on mitigating attrition through purpose-driven leadership in IT, retaining top talent. So without further ado, I request, I'll just brief introduction about the Kamal. Today we are privileged to have Kamal as Kamal. He's a seasoned professional, over 17 years of IT industry experience, relatively in insurance, retail, and fintech domains. He has held various senior management roles with leadership and senior leadership roles. He's a distinguished Toastmaster as well. Kamal has held numerous leadership positions and consistently contributed to building strong communication and leadership skills. He's a certified project management professional holding PGMP, PMP, and ACP certifications with over a decade of volunteering experience, including serving as a past president for the PMI Milwaukee chapter. Additionally, Kamal is a certified life and leadership coach, specializing in guiding IT professionals and leaders towards success. Please join me in welcoming Kamal as he shares his insights with us today. And without further ado, Kamal, floor is yours. I'll stop sharing so that you can share and go through with the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Google. Can you enable the sharing, please? Oh yeah, I can see now. All right, sounds good. All right, happy Saturday, everyone. I hope wherever you are, whether you are in Eastern Hemisphere or Western Hemisphere, I hope you have your cup of tea or coffee with you as we go ahead and get started here for this particular presentation. Remember, this would be an interactive presentation. So, as Google mentioned about the ground rules, what I would also add to the ground rules is if you can turn on your camera, remember, you can connect the name to the face as you network. And it's always important that you remember people as you connect the name to the face. Now, as we go forward, please feel free to use the chat box so that, you can share your thoughts, comments, questions as we, guide through the presentation. And, it's all about interacting with each other, sharing your comments, thoughts so that we move forward. Now, as I said, this will be an interactive session. So, hope you have your pen and paper handy. And then, any questions we have, we will take them as we come at the end of the presentation. All right, I hope everybody's ready for the presentation. So without further delay, let's get started. So what is really understanding about attrition? How can we mitigate attrition when it comes to IT related aspects, right? Because these days there is a lot of attrition. Companies are facing a lot of turmoil, and how do we really retain the top talent? So we'll be looking into attrition. What is attrition? What is retention? We'll be looking into introduction of what is purpose driven leadership is. If this is something a new term for you, we'll define it. We'll see what it truly holds value in day-to-day or current world workplace. And then we'll be diving into how coaching can help leverage in helping us mitigate the attrition. Further down the line, this is where the interactive part comes into picture. We'll be working on something known as wheel of work life. You'll be truly seeing value of how your current work in your organization is situated based on how you are seeing the view of your work life, and some other leadership assessments I'm going to share, which you can take note of, and then down the line work in your organizations to see how they can benefit you. Then later on we'll see a purpose driven leadership case study, and then finally wrapping up with a summary of what leadership strategies and how they can reduce the attrition. So I hope everybody's ready, so let's get started here. Now, if you have heard the terms called attrition and retention before, let me quickly summarize here is that attrition is something where, the employee is no longer part of the organization, which means the number has reduced. But why do these things happen? Why does attrition happen overall? Have you ever wondered what they are? Share in the comments as you listen to these terms. But in the recent study done by McKinsey, as you can see that the top talent usually leaves the organization because there is lack of any development in the career. Every professional is interested in, growing their career, how they want to grow in the organization and how they want to advance in the organization, which as you see is at the 41% mark here. But if you really see the next two or three, which is about 30% mark, it's all about inadequate pay. Pay is important because everybody has to pay bills. That's also important, right? If you're being worked overload and then pay is less, that's also uninspiring. Now, if you really look at the next two, our manager, our leader, whom we talk to on day-to-day basis, if the manager or the leader is not really interested and always busy in things, then that also demotivates the employee, and the employee starts to look outside the organization. And finally, these days, employees want to truly be engaged in the organization. They want to understand the roadmap and where the organization is going towards, so that you truly feel that, hey, my work is really contributing towards the success of the organization. So as you see, the top four, it's all about you. It's all about how you look at the organization and how you perceive that leads truly to the attrition. Now we understood attrition. Let's look at retention. Retention is all about different strategies that the organization really needs to think about when it comes to keeping those employees within the organization. So what does really employees care about when it comes to retention? As you can see that the top 80% have said that it's their everyday day-to-day work. If they don't find value in what they do on a day-to-day basis, then they don't truly care about what the organization is doing or where they're going. The employee is going to go into some other organization and say, hey, I find peace, I find value in this organization, and people truly care of what I do. Now, next important thing that people truly care about is the company ethics. Now, company ethics, like how is company handling conflict of interest? How is company handling hiring and firing practices? How is company hiring your monitoring? If either of these things are at a very high rate where the employee cannot really tolerate or be about, well, the employee is going to jump from being a retention employee to an attrition employee. So I hope this slide helps you understand what attrition is, the factors of attrition, what retention is, and what truly keeps the employee in the organization, so that as we move forward, you can connect the dots towards it. So now that you know attrition and retention, you might be wondering what is purpose-driven leadership. So let me explain about it. In the recent survey done by PricewaterhouseCoopers, they wanted to know what employee truly values as purpose, and the business leaders, what they truly value as purpose. If you see this study, for an employee, the day-to-day work, which we have been talking in the previous slide, the meaning of day-to-day work, what are they doing? Why are they doing? How does this all tie up to how the organization is successful? The strong sense of community. How are you connected with your colleagues? How are you connected with your leadership? And how is it making you feel happy so that as you work, are you really enjoying the place you are in and working towards it? And finally, the impact part, as you see here, it's all about how truly you are impactful in the organization and you are being valued as the company is successful. So as you see here, these are the three which the employee feels it's the value of the purpose. But on the other side, you can see that the leaders think about the reputation of the organization, the distinction and the differentiation of the organization. And finally, they think, oh, meaning of day-to-day work. Now you can clearly see there is misalignment between what employee thinks and a misalignment between what business leaders think. Now, how do we bridge the gap between employees and the business leaders? And that's where the purpose-driven leadership comes into picture. Now, what is purpose-driven leadership? Purpose-driven leadership is finding that personal meaning of what employee truly cares, fostering that deep, committed workplace so that we all move forward with shared goals and aspirations. When you think and feel that you are part of the organization's success and you're part of those goals that are being shared to you and you contribute towards it, that you feel are truly successful. And in a recent study done by the Quantum Workplace, an employee who understands where the organization is going, they know the roadmap of the organization, and they truly feel that their work and their contribution is, being directly proportional to the impact of the organization. They found that 2.7 times the employee is highly engaged and highly productive. So as you see here, tomorrow when you go to the office, whatever you're doing, ask yourself why. If you don't know why, then ask your leader or manager to share that vision with you. Ask them, hey, why do I do this? As I say, if it's a status report, if it's a steering committee document, or whatever it is, it's a project plan. If I do this, where is it going to lead this to? Who are the stakeholders that are using this information? Or where is this connecting to? Do I understand the strategic plan of this work to the organizational goals? So think in those dimensions. You learned about attrition, you learned about retention. Now, how do we bridge the gap of reducing attrition, increasing retention with purpose-driven leadership using coaching as the framework? So in this slide, you'll learn about how that framework helps and the next steps towards how interactive this session is going to be. But before that, you might be wondering, wait a minute, I've never heard about coaching. How is it going to really help? In my leadership journey, I'm not a manager, maybe I'm just an employee, but hey, you can be a leader. You don't need to be a manager to be a leader. You can be a leader as an employee. You can be a leader as a manager. So how do you really do that? And what's important and startling is that in a recent association for talent development, it was found that 90% of the organizations expect managers to coach, which means, coaching is not like, nice to have quality here. It's a must-have skill because this research was done in 2023, and in 2024, a consulting and coaching firm known as BetterUp, they did a follow-up study and found that, let's just say I give you 20% pay hike. Would you take that? Or would you like a supporting manager who is really invested in your growth, in your success, and is truly caring for you? You won't be surprised that 80% of them said they truly want a supportive manager who is out there helping you to be successful, your voice is heard, and truly cares for your success and accelerated growth. So as you can see here, coaching is not an alienated topic for leaders. It's right in there through statistics and data available, and it's right in something you really need to look into. So as I said that, the message is clear for leaders. Coaching is not nice to have skill. It's a must have skill and something for you to put it in your top priority for leadership competency so that you can enhance the skill and be that person the employee truly thinks about as they step in and step out of the work. Now, here is where let me introduce to you the framework of coaching, the 5-step model of coaching that you can actually use in your day-to-day activities, whether you're an employee or whether you're a leader in the organization. First and foremost, understand where you are. This is the ground reality. Do you know where you're heading towards? Whether it's talking to your manager or whether you as an employee understand where you truly are in the organization. Now, once you know your situation, then generate some ideas. where you want to go, how you want to do. And again, we'll be going deep dive into each of these stages. So at this point, it's more of an overview. So once you understand and generate ideas, then you'll be thinking about, what do I develop an action plan of the ideas I have right now? Because it's like you have planted a seed, you're watering through your ideas. Now, how do I take care of these ideas so that they truly develop as a plant of success that you're looking for? And once you develop that action plan, it's all about, constant nourishment, so providing that support and follow up, right? So as you see here, the first step, as I said, is assessing the situation. And here is where you need your pen and paper. We'll be working on an interactive, assessment known as Wheel of Work Life. And as you have a pen and paper, draw this circle on that paper. And as you see different, components here, we call the pizza pie or whatever you want to call, on a scale of 1 to 10, put a number for each of these pies. What do you see, from growth perspective in the organization? Do you rate it 5? Do you rate it 8? Do you rate it 3? Where do you see? Are you being given different variety of opportunities? How is your rapport with colleagues? Is your workload manageable? Are you being heard and given that power to look into where your work is being looked from autonomy perspective? Are you being given different opportunities? How do you feel your environment is? And finally, the money you're making. So let's take a few minutes here, next 5 minutes, to truly put this into picture so that you understand, this framework much better. Let me quickly look at the chat to see if there are any comments or anything here.
As of now, we don't have any particular comments on this. I've been going through. Any, if at all, I will update it, Kamal.
Sounds good. So that is helpful, Google.
Yeah.
And as we work on this framework in next few minutes, if anybody has any questions or anything, and please put them in the chat, and we'll be more than happy to look into. Or if someone is brave enough, mute yourself and speak up also. That's totally fine. So again, if you have pen and paper in your front, put on a scale of 1 to 10, rate each of these components of how you feel at your workplace. Okay. If you have completed your assessment, I would greatly appreciate if you can put if yes in the chat, so that way I know you have worked on it and we can move forward. Perfect. Thanks, Lakshmi. And I hope this is valuable to you, because that makes you think, hey, I've never thought about this kind of assessment before. What am I really doing here? I've never paid attention to my growth. How do I rate this? So think in those lines and, start to put those numbers. All right. I start to see yes. So, all right. Shravan had a question about variety. Now, I am looking at the chat, Suresh. So that's the reason why I can answer the question. So Shravan, to understand variety, right? So for example, once upon a time, I was a program manager working on a fintech, organization. They asked me to fix the program wherein it was, completely off the radar. I fixed the program. I was completely 100% aligned to that particular program. But I reached out to my manager and said, hey, I need additional work apart from what I'm doing. Can you assign me something else? Not just for portfolio management that I was doing for that client. The manager also assigned me to a program manager, which was related to cloud computing. So look for the variety of the work you do. So what happens is then you expand your knowledge you expand your experience with different stakeholders. Let's just say you worked on business side of the organization. Can you volunteer or can you take up additional work towards the development side of the organization so that you can build your network and make it much more better for you as you go forward in your growth of your own expertise, but also in improving the skills of the organization that you're working for. Hope that helps. All right, as I see yes in from many, let's sidestep towards other leadership assessments that we can use to truly understand as an employee and as a leader for people who are reporting to you. First and foremost is known as 360-degree feedback. Now, what is 360-degree feedback? We all actually think about, hey, is our manager biased towards us? Or is there anything that can be done to understand much better what others think about us? So let's just say, for example, if you want to understand how the client relation manager thinks about you, how does my manager's manager think about me, how does the development director think about me, 360-degree feedback is all about that. You reach out to those people and ask for feedback from them. Hey, how do you perceive my work towards what I'm doing in the organization? I greatly appreciate your thoughts. Can you help me with my strengths and weakness according to you? And can you help me any blind spots that you see that I have never thought about? In this way, what happens is it tells you, that the manager involvement is not in there in this feedback. It widens the lens of your feedback to understand, hey, okay, this is what I was thinking. According to other people, this is the perception. But for me, in my experience, 360-degree feedback helped mainly in providing the blind spots which I was not aware of. I hope you all know what a blind spot is. A blind spot is something that it's coming towards you or you have it, but you never knew it. 360-degree feedback helps you with that. So, something for you to think about, put into implementation as you go into work tomorrow or day after, and then, start reaching out to people whom you truly trust in the leadership and ask those questions for feedback. And again, this feedback is not used for your performance appraisal. This is more for your growth and success in your career. Now, next in this particular leadership assessment is known as DISC analysis. And I'm sure a lot of people have heard about this because more than 1 million people use this tool assessment. This is more used for teamwork, communication, and that cultural binding when it comes to team. Let's just say, for example, you have a Scrum team, or let's just say you work part of a project. To understand different personalities, DISC analysis is used. Now, D stands for dominance, I stands for influence, S stands for steadiness, and C stands for consciousnesses. Now, what does that really mean? Like, what is DISC? So let's just say, for example, dominance. I'm just going to take a cricket analogy here because we all are, most of them on this call are cricket fans, right? So D is like Virat Kohli, who's like, always into dominance, always into those, bottom line results. I want this, I want to, these are those driving high energetic people who always are looking for those results. I, as in influence, is like Rohit Sharma, who's, more calm, composed. They're always into influencing and persuading others. They're more into that cooperative style of people where they're more balanced in nature towards looking across the horizon. S is steadyfulness. This is more like, Rahul Dravid type. They are dependable. They are, always composed. They're always looking towards how they can add value through the skills they have. And C is known as consciousness. These are people like Bumrah who are more focused on emphasis on quality, their skill, they know where to deliver and how to deliver. And mind you, these C type of people are mostly calm. So, whenever you see a calm type of personality in your team, you can bet assured 90% they are C. So use this skill, this technique to understand different people, because remember, everybody is different in the world we live in. And once you understand their DISC score, then you truly can say, hey, okay, now I know you are a C personality. How do I talk to you? So look into that from DISC analysis perspective. And finally, the last leadership assessment that I would suggest is known as Gallup's Clifton Strengths. Now, Gallup's Clifton Strength is very unique in its nature because no one personality in this world has same top 5 qualities than the other person. Now, you might be wondering, what is this Gallup Clifton Strengths? Gallup is an organization known for its this type of assessment where they send you a assessment, when you sign up for this leadership assessment. It truly tells you about how you think, how you behave, and what sort of a personality you are. There are about 34 Clifton strengths that are lined up, and they are categorized into 4 domains known as strategic thinking, influencing, relationship building, and executing. I took this assessment way back in 2018, and my top 5 qualities are positivity, achiever, woo, includer, and learner. So you can see that once you know your Clifton strengths, you can truly introduce yourself in any way, saying, hey, here are my top 5 qualities. And once they understand about you, they connect with you to say, okay, this is the personality you are, and how do I look towards improving myself, or how do I take these values towards helping you grow as we move forward. And one of the interesting experiences for me in my organization was I was in a call with the 2 leaders, and one leader was completely into the D style, the dominant style, and the other personality was more towards the S style. Then I spoke to one of the Clifton Strengths coach, and I said, hey, I see a different type of personality here. Can we look at the Clifton strengths? And we realized that the D type was less on the relationship and S type was more on the relationship. So that's where you see different type of personalities coming into picture and understanding. And in the end, it's all about learning about your team and using different techniques to help you really realize what sort of a personality that particular person is. Okay. All right. Now that you have the wheel of work-life score that you have put in place, we'll be generating ideas towards one of the categories that you can select, because we cannot go into all the categories at this point. Select one of the categories where you have scored, let's just say, the lowest. According to coaching principle, any score less than 8 is an area of improvement for you. So let's just say you scored 5 in growth. I'm just taking an example. Whatever score you have put in front of you, use them. So I'm just going to take an example of growth. So let's just say you have put 5 on growth. Put that as, in one of the goals. What is that you can do, or what are the goals that you are pursuing or want to pursue that you can reach to the score of 8? Let's just say, for example, you want to grow in the organization, but you never spoke with your manager. So one of the goals is to put there and say, hey, I want to grow in this organization from project manager to program manager. So put that as a goal. Write down G on your paper and put that as a goal. But the reality is you never spoke with your manager. So put that in the reality. Say, hey, I never spoke with the manager. Now, you know your goal, you know the reality. What are the options that you can take? One is talk to your manager. 2, talking to your colleagues to understand what is the skill level of project manager and what is the skill level of program manager. And again, to those people who are not in the project management profession, whatever skill or professional role you are in, put that role and growth into your perspective. Put those options in place, 1 to 3, whatever you want to put. And out of these options, what is that truly you can work upon or act upon by end of this year? Let's just say next 60 days. That is truly, tangible in nature. That is truly that you can take action towards in reality, not something like I want to travel to Mars or something like that. So it is in truly reality that you want to put into picture. So as you see here in the previous slide, we assessed our situation of how our work life is. Through this slide, we are looking into how do we develop those ideas in transforming our situation to ideas. In the next slide, we'll be looking towards how to develop an action plan. Now, developing an action plan is all about taking those will do in your previous slide and generating a specific deliverables towards a definite timeline that you want to achieve. Let's just say you have put a goal of, growing in the career, as I took the example in the previous slide. One of the options is, by end of October, talk to colleagues. By mid-November, come up with a framework or ideas or thoughts documented to talk to my manager. From November 15th to 30th, talk to the manager. In December, develop an action plan towards how to work towards that growth in 2025, right? So you can come up with concrete, specific deliverables so that you understand that there is consistency, commitment, and progress towards these ideas rather than just them being on the paper. Now, when it comes to action plan, as leaders or employees, there are two sets of coaching here. One is called the performance coaching, and the other one is called the development coaching. Performance coaching is for those people who are struggling to meet their role goals. When you do performance appraisal, these are kind of the people who need that uplift, who need that, kind of motivation. And performance coaching is short term in nature because you want to lift those people from below water to above water so that they are, successful in their career. Now, development coaching is for those people who excel in their career. They are like the exuberant people who want to jump in their career, who want to move to that next role. So you develop an action plan for them. Now, development coaching is long-term in nature. You take time, truly understand that person, and put that in place so that it's not a 3-month plan. It's more like 6-month to 9-month plan so that they can get promoted towards next role, or they can actually watch for themselves to say, hey, I have done all these things. I know the skills required for this role, and here I am possessing or sharing it with you. Okay. And once you understand and put that into place, so in this slide, as you generated the ideas, put an action plan in place next few minutes to understand, hey, I am in either performance coaching bucket or I'm in development coaching bucket. What steps can you take if you are in performance coaching for short term, next 2-3 months, to really come up to excelling in your role rather than being under the water? When it comes to development coaching, put yourself and take time. We call that 30, 60, 90-day plan in work, right? So put yourself 3 month, 6-month, 9-month action plan specifically to see how you want to excel in your career as well as move to that next role. So take 1-2 minutes and put that in place. Any questions on this, please let me know. I have the chat open on the other monitor. And type in yes once you have wrote down your action plan for if it's short term or long term in nature.
There are a couple of questions actually, not towards this, but previous slides. There's a if a person situation falling 0 to 2 on all the parameters and the variety and others, this what's your suggestion for that person? The question was asked by Altaf Sheikh.
Let's just say if you are falling from 0 to 2 in all the questions, which means that you truly need someone's support, very more so than anybody else on this call. You rightly need to pick up your phone and talk to your manager and say, hey, I'm struggling. I don't really understand what's going on in this organization. I don't know about the organization, but myself, I'm struggling here. And also, if your manager is not sort of a coaching type, there are coaches in the organization, who can help you out. They are usually part of people office or we call the TPO or HR or anybody. You say, ask your manager to see if they can assign a coach to you. And then the coach will work with you to make sure that these scores go up and help you be that motivated, positive individual contributing towards the success of the organization. So that would be the recommended path for you. I hope that helps, Altaf.
Yeah,
So,
thanks, Kamal.
and there's a second question by Nikhil Naranjan. Variety is the opposite spectrum of becoming the expert. How soon you think one should look for variety and change?
That's a really good question. Whoever so asked, actually, I think you said Nikhil, right?
Yes.
So, Nikhil, in my experience of 17 years, right, I can tell you very honestly that I've never been in a role for more than 2.5 years.
Yeah.
My mind works at such a fast pace. That doesn't mean I'm not a calm person. I do my own mindfulness practices, but it always looks for new things, new type of work, new type of experiences. And you can see in my experience also, I've been part of Toastmasters, I'm part of project management, now part of coaching, right? So variety is something that always I look towards. And my guidance towards anybody who's looking for variety is, look towards your role, any new role, for first 6 months as your training ground, that learning curve. And then after that 6 months, next 6 months, you implement what you learned. And then after that 1 year, next 6 months, implement with the corrections and new learnings from first year, right? So you are at the 1.5 year mark. After 1.5 year, start thinking about your next role. Start thinking about where you want to grow, exactly what you're doing right now. Assess your situation, come up with those ideas, generate the action plan, and then you'll slowly see your roadmap, whether it's either you want to do job hopping within the organization or you want to do company hopping, outside the organization. The choice is yours. So you will do that, and then right at the 2 year mark, you'll start to apply. So my general guidance is 2.5 years. You stay in an organization in a role, or within an organization, you keep changing. And I have done that successfully. And to be honest with you, I'm not really boasting about myself. I started my career as a business analyst. Now I'm a senior PMO leader, actually. And I didn't even dream about project managers reporting to me. So it can happen. If I can do it, you can do it.
Kamal, just a thought on this. I hope I'm audible.
Sure. Yes, you are.
Yeah, most of the organizations are looking for people who are expert in their domain or skill set, and also a master, jack of all and master of none. That is a problem we all are subjected to or questioned. So the approach that you are taking today, you are a BA, look for something else, and maybe subject matter experts, maybe IT, maybe something, and keep on growing. Though it looks good in theory, but it also kind of puts you in that jack of all and master of none. How do you handle that in this scenario?
So let me clarify. Actually, that's a good point you make, Nikhil. So I started my career as a BA, but I always wanted to become a project manager. Hope that clarifies. So what I did is I grew in project management, being a project coordinator, scrum master, senior project manager, program manager, portfolio manager, strategic planning manager, now a senior PMO leader. So all my roles actually complemented to the growth of what I did. So as you rightly said, become an expert of one particular area. Like, let's just say majority of on this call are PMO related. Okay. So be an expert in it. But when I say variety, look towards working your expertise in different areas. For example, I worked in business, I worked in professional services. Right now, I'm working in technology department. So your skills will carry with you, but change the area of work you're doing so that you actually carry those skills and expertise with you and are also valuable. Remember, as you keep spending more time in one particular area, there will be nothing much more you will be learning in that particular space. That's exactly what I mean, Nikhil, when we talk about variety. Yeah.
Thanks.
All right. I hope you all, generated ideas, put action plan in place. And I hope you're truly putting information on your paper, because once this session is over, I want that paper to be valuable to you more than anything. If you can remember what actions you need to take from this session, you have done your homework and I have done my work. So let's move on. What do we really need from the leaders? It's about offering that continuous encouragement. Remember, we all take tasks outside our comfort zone. We all do tasks which, challenge us. But how do we really stay afloat? Is by that offering continuous encouragement, whether it's your colleague or a leader providing it to you. Be that, person of offering that continuous encouragement to the people you're working with. Make sure that, you ask your manager or leader to provide the right tools and learning path for your success and career growth. Remember, the first top percentage that was given when it came to attrition is about lack of career development and advancement. We all want to grow, right? So ask your manager, hey, this is where I want to go based on your action plan. Ask what are the tools, what are the learning path that you need that your manager can provide, and ask them truly to support you. Now, once you have that, there are always these uncooperative colleagues that we have in the organization. Ask your manager who else can help you by stepping into helping out with this action plan. They can actually make those connections for you. Or, anybody else in the organization that you can ask their value or feedback to see if you can reach out to them and make that connection. What is more, surprising here is that I was working on all these certifications actually from 2014 when I passed my PMP all the way till 2022. Now, I am in such a mode that I always look for kind of growth opportunities. So I reached out to a vice president in my organization and I asked, hey, can you mentor me? That vice president said, I'm not going to mentor you, but I'm going to coach you. I was like, wait a minute, what is coaching? So it all started there when she said, I'm going to coach you, and she coached me and she made those connections. She kind of groomed me to where I was to where I am right now. If you have passion towards something, talk to your manager or talk to someone in your organization and say, hey, whom can you connect me to? Like Altaf asked a question about, I'm struggling in various areas. Whom can he connect to in the organization so that these connections remove those obstacles and open doors for you? And finally, whether you're an employee or a leader in the organization, communicate regularly. Raise your voice to speak for your success so that you are truly valued, not just for continuing your role, but also seeking for someone who is constantly improving as you go forward. All right. And finally, when you are doing the follow-ups, it's not just those, Outlook regularly scheduled meetings with your manager or manager talking to you or you talking to your manager. Quickly IM them, build that trust and relationship with them, ensure you are open and free in talking with them. And then, you actually are at ease with them. Now I'm going to explain it to you one of the analogies by using an example of an aquarium. And, when I was a kid, I have two other brothers, so we had an aquarium in the house. So when we brought the aquarium had fishes. The water was nice and clean. We used to use something known as fish beads. Now, as we were using these fish beads, the fishes were healthy. The fishes were nice. They were eating those beads, and everything was happy. Now, one day we went to a vegetable market, and then we saw that the guy who sells the fishes or the aquarium, he was feeding worms to them. Now we asked, like, why do you want to feed worms to the fishes? He said, like, they grow big, they are very active, and then they are very super fast in the aquarium. We were like, wow, this is such a thrilling place to be in, right? So we brought those worms and we started to feed them. But remember, once those worms were being fed to the fishes, they started to grow big. They started to eat each other because their appetite grew so fast that that worms were not sufficient for them, and they were leaving so much that waste material that the aquarium becomes so dirty in no matter of time. Now put the dirty aquarium, or let's just say I wouldn't say dirty aquarium, but the worms fed aquarium on your left hand and the fish beads fed aquarium on your right hand. A lot of times teams or leaders or of these kind of people, you have these fish beads feeding managers, and then you have these worms feeding managers where they are always constantly on you. And that's exactly the concept here when you do the follow-ups. Are you being directive or are you being self-directive? For example, let's just say someone goofed up a project and the project plan was all over the place. If a manager is like that worm feeding aquarium manager who's always on you, who's always like you need to listen what I tell you, they are more like directive in nature. Whereas on the other side, if the manager is more like that fish breeding kind of aquarium where okay, we have a situation, how do we handle it? Those are more like self-directive kind of leaders. Now everybody, whether on this call or anybody else, we all want a manager who listens to us, who talks to us, who understands us, rather than being told. We want them to hear us rather than being told. We want them to work with us rather than working on us by constantly telling us what to do, rather than giving us the space and autonomy to work on them. And that's exactly what is considered as directive versus self-directive. Is a manager who says, I know how, I will tell you, and you just follow. Whereas self-directive is, you know how, I'll ask you, and you decide. Okay. So for example, let's just say a manager gives you a feedback. And then, a directive type is, how to act on this feedback. I hope you can. Whereas the self-directive is, now that you know the feedback, what steps are you going to take towards it? You see the different style of leadership here. One is like, on directly telling you, you need to start acting. Whereas on the other side, they're asking you what steps you can take to be comfortable and take that action accordingly. Okay. So now that you have seen the framework and the 5 steps, anybody, any quick comments on anything before we move towards a case study? I see a question. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry, Gokul.
Yeah, Ravi actually asked one question. How do we correctly assess ourselves?
Sometimes we tend to under-assess ourselves considering we have ideal version of. Now, Ravi, this is a very good question. It's like any skill, right? It's all about practice. Today, maybe you have seen that framework for the first time, and I hope you have captured the notes towards that framework. Okay. Let's just say you put a score of 5 in growth or variety or autonomy. Now, you will generate some ideas, you'll work on your action plan, you'll take action. Now come back in December, look at your scores and say, am I truly at 5 or am I truly at 8? Assessing yourself is also an art. It's a practice. It's like, communication. The more you practice, the better you get at it. So your question is very truly valid and we all struggle with it. It's all about practice, talking to yourself and understanding towards it.
That's exactly the point, Kamal. Sometimes we tend to take ourselves too seriously, and it happens with everybody, I believe. We are harsh on ourselves, and why is this not happening? Why is that not happening? Why, probably I could do better. All these thoughts will come up. They are definitely important in our growth, but sometimes it becomes a little overwhelming too.
And I hope that slide will help you understand the deeper layers of why those thoughts are coming up. So just hold on to that, and I'm sure that slide will help you.
All right.
All right. Seeking help is considered as weakness in the organization as leaders expect everyone to be self-sufficient, reliant. How do we deal with this situation? And as we spoke about, right, Bikash, about, the aquariums, the worm feeding aquarium and the fish beads feeding aquarium. It's all the culture of your organization. Are they truly listening to you? If someone is seeking help and they feel like you are considered weak, I think probably you need to assess to see what areas that you can reach out in the organization. Like as I told to you about people office or anywhere, who truly value that you are actually needing help. You need support. You need that kind of thing. And managers or leaders who are not providing that support, you will have to ask yourself the question, how long can you survive in that organization, or how long you will be thinking about going up with that kind of, support, right? When you actually think about it, it's like this analogy. I'm sure you flew in an aeroplane, right? What do they say in an aeroplane? Put the mask for yourself first and then help someone else. So if you are actually looking for help and someone else is considering weak, then you need to start looking help from somewhere else. Otherwise, you will start to sink, right? So take it more like a signal in the organization than considering it as a weakness. Spin it around and take that the situation is trying to tell you something, that you need to act differently and take different approach towards either being in the organization, maybe in that space or different team, or maybe move towards a different organization where they truly value you. Okay.
Kamal,
All right.
can I ask a question? It's actually an extension to the answer that you just gave related to seeking help and is considered as weakness. So see, as part of PMP, we are also being assessed on how are we contributing to the positive environment of the company or organization that we're working on, right? So what should be the approach here in terms of, because this is an environmental issue. It's not a team issue. It's not a skill set issue. It's an environmental issue. where people asking help are considered weak or they are demeaned, all these things. So how do we contribute towards a positive environment in such cases?
Well, right, Ravi, here we are talking about this, right? So, our perception towards everything actually lies, there is a saying, the state of mind actually determines the state of matters, which means like the level at which we actually take things is what truly matters, because this is a perceptive kind of a scoring, right? What you truly look towards. Now, if the environment is not supporting it, then you really know that it's like that aquarium. The warm aquarium is actually spoiling the fishes. It's getting muddy. What is the immediate action? Move it from the muddy water to the fish bead fish tank, right? So similarly for you, as I said, right, every organization is really great in what they do. Maybe the team you are in, the environment is not nice. Maybe the situation or the project you are handling may not be, it's a very stressful one. Give it some time to see if it changes. But if it's truly still the same, then, as I told you, right, that 2.5 year mark, you need to start thinking about it. Okay.
I think
Yeah.
we have another 8 minutes. So if you have another couple of any slides, I think.
Kamal, one question I have. I'm sorry, I'm stopping.
Let's actually complete the slides. I think Nikhil and someone else, and then we will truly take the questions. So that way, what happens is we can, kind of take more time towards them. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks for the understanding here. So we spoke about directive and self-directive. Now, you know what attrition is, what retention is, what is purpose-driven leadership. You've seen the framework of coaching that can help you. Now, I want to present to you a, truly a case study out there in IT market. And there is no better than, Microsoft here. When Satya Nadella actually joined in 2014, his predecessor, Steve Ballmer, actually, who was a CEO before him, lost complete, clarity towards the vision, strategic growth, and any purpose in the organization. The shares were tanking, everything was going down. The morale was so low that, people started to think about moving outside Microsoft. Now, come in February 2014, Satya Nadella stepped in, and guess what? His growth mindset, his empathy and collaboration, and his purpose towards growing the Microsoft organization with a very acute focus and driving that information towards Microsoft employees not only just earned him kudos, but also the employee engagement actually improved by 40%, which was actually negative, but it improved by 40%. Now imagine your leader talking to you, telling you why you are doing this. That truly empowers you to do what you want. Now, the other thing we spoke about was attrition, right? As he stepped in, the average market attrition is 13 to 15%. It not only came down below that 13 to 15%, but it came to 7%, which is very low compared to the normal market average. And finally, the normal average, percentage or range where people say, how much do you understand your organizational goals, or how much do you understand what your organization is doing? It's about 70 to 75%. Look at Microsoft. They are at 90%. They feel more connected towards their company's mission. So these are the criterias, where this purpose-driven leadership truly empowers you to be successful, as you move forward. Okay. What are the actionable steps for you as an attendee for this particular session? Is find that purpose. If you are an employee, find your purpose in the organization, talk to your leader. If you are a manager, share the purpose to your, reportees through those regular connects. Tell them why they are doing it. What is that you truly look towards them, so that makes them successful, and also you as the leader successful. Invest in coaching and leadership development. As you have done scoring towards different aspects of that work wheel, wheel of work life, look towards how you as a leader can take up that coaching mode and help your reportees, or you as an employee can seek that coaching support within the organization or outside the organization to help you be successful in your career. And finally, it's all about innovation and empowering your teams, whether you're a team player or whether you're a team leader, because by fostering those relationships and empowering each other, everybody is successful and the employee satisfaction goes up. All right. So quick takeaways here for everyone. And what I truly like is this particular quote from Richard Branson is train people enough so they can leave, but treat them well so they don't want to, right? That's what it is actually. And finally, if you have any feedback for this session, there is this QR code. I most welcome your feedback and, honest opinion so that it helps me to, learn, improve. As I said, couple of my top 5 qualities are learning and growing. I want to learn and grow. So your feedback is greatly appreciated. All right. I think we have 2 more minutes. So we'll take next 1 minute for quick Q&A here. I think we are at Nikhil here. Nikhil, yes, please go ahead and speak up.
Yeah, Kamal. Kind of your second last slide spoke a bit about it, but I'll still convey my concern. So I'm looking for some inputs to how to reduce the attrition in my team from a project manager perspective or from the leadership point, not as a myself. All your point 1, 2, and 3 are mostly self-driven exercise. An employee looking for improvement should do those activities. How do I promote this? This kind of have answered just previous to all. Point 1, assess the situation. Point 2, generate ideas. And point 3, develop action plan. All these are basically self-driven exercise, right?
Yeah. So they're actually applicable for a leader as well as an employee. So let's just say, for example, Nikhil, you have a team, right?
Right.
So let's just say I report to you, okay? Then you schedule a meeting with your employee or a reportee and ask them show them that work wheel life, wheel of work life. Ask them to rate that, circle. Then you'll understand what do they perceive actually. You might be thinking, hey, this team is awesome, but the ground reality is different. So talk to them, give them that tool, ask them to rate that. Then you'll know what actually the reality is. Then you generate ideas towards what can be improved, what they truly envision. Put an action plan in place. So all the steps that have been shared, it is applicable for you as a leader. It is applicable for you as an employee. Because what happens is, as a leader, you'll talk to each of your employees and take those steps. Then you'll understand where your team is thinking. As an employee, you will take those steps and talk to your manager to say, hey, I have worked on this assessment. Can you help me? How do I move forward? So to just give an example of attendees here, as a leader, Nikhil, you will take the steps with your employees. And as an attendee, my apologies, Altaf. So Altaf will be doing this assessment and talking to his manager of how he can improve. That's the difference here.
So Kamal, in your experience, what percentage of employees in your team or team members actually took up this exercise?
In my team,
yeah,
all of them. There are 4 project managers in my current assignment that work on this, and I actually have done this with everybody. And then I share with them the purpose every day. We have a daily stand-up. I share purpose with them every day, whether it's client related or my own organization related, because remember, we all are passing clouds. We keep on moving from one role to the other. But if a person truly understands why they are doing it, they won't remember what project you work on. They remember the person whom they worked on. Down the line, 10 years from now, you'll not remember your manager for what project you did. You'll remember them for how they treated you, what value they added you in your career success. So that's the whole crux of this whole presentation actually, is be that person who can add value to the people you're working with or the person you're working with. Okay?
Yeah, thanks, Kamal.
Absolutely. Raj Kamal, you had, what do I do when my manager gives no direction, accountability, has no idea about the work which I do? I can't change my manager. In this case, how will I grow in the organization? Yeah, I think, this is a very specific situation a lot of people do. Now, there are 2 types of reporting here. One is, in one of my experiences, I was reporting to a resource manager, but then I was working mainly with a functional manager. All right. My resource manager doesn't know what I am doing with the functional manager, but the feedback from functional manager goes to the resource manager, right? So how do we do that? Now, in this scenario, right, you would do this assessment and talk to your manager. If the manager is like that warm feeding aquarium, then you need to find someone who is truly in that fish feed aquarium, is the leader who truly cares. Now, again, It's all about how long can you survive in this mode and how much you can sustain in this mode, or how much you want to bear with this manager, right? In the end, the question for you to ask is, do I really give priority to my growth, or I just want to sustain in this organization floating along, right? That's the question back to you for you to think. Okay.
Kamal, one question. How do we ensure that we do not become warm feeding managers?
How do you ensure you do not become warm feeding managers? That's a really good question. Warm feeding managers are those people who have those high D kind of personalities, who are really more result driven. So when you really take one step back, results are very important for everybody, but make sure that taking care of the team holds much more value than results will come automatically when you take care of your team, right? So do these self checks time to time, so that you are taking care of yourself and also the team, so that you don't end up being that warm feeding manager and more of a fish feed manager.
And
So it's all about asking about, hey, where are we heading, and how are we really looking towards? And again, one of the things you can do is doing a 360 feedback with your team. Ask them, hey, this is what I think, what do you think about me? Very open, honest question to them, and you will be surprised with the feedback they give you. And once you get the feedback, you know whether you are a warm feeding manager or you are a fish feed manager.
yeah, I was about to add that.
I know we are over time, so Gokul, I don't know how much time we have, but
we can have couple of more questions, just couple questions here.
We'll take these two, which are given by Satish and Mohammed, and we'll wrap up the session.
Exactly.
Can Myers-Briggs framework can be applied for leadership assessment? Now, Myers-Briggs is more from personality development perspective and personality understanding, more like Clifton Strengths. Myers-Briggs give you that 4-block framework, and again, you can definitely do that because everybody has different type of personality, and it's all about sharing your personality and understanding where you are. Again, these all help you improve that profile of yours, whether it's Myers-Briggs or Clifton Strengths, so that you can share who you are truly and how you connect with other people and help you grow. Because let's say, for example, you have a Myers-Briggs assessment you did, and someone else out there is also of the same type, then you connect with them easily. That's how you use the Myers-Briggs. Last question here: how to handle the situation where we are loaded with organizational deliverables versus discuss growth related things. Now, this is a question that goes back to our wheel of work life. One of the components in there was workload. Now, in my opinion, Mohammed, I would rate that workload pie on a scale of 1 to 10 as 3, given your situation, right? Because you are being loaded with work, but there is no relief here. So then what you do is, how do you really get to 8? Is you will generate ideas by talking to your manager, by talking to a leader in the organization, getting some different perspective, putting some action plan in place, talking to your manager and saying, hey, I'm being overutilized here. I have no idea how to sustain this pressure, because I don't know whether your manager is a warm feeding manager or a fish feed manager who really cares and may not be aware of your situation. So talk to your manager or leader, help them understand the situation, and I hope they listen to you and give you that spectrum. Maybe there is a situation like Mohammed, they're saying, hey, this is only till end of 2024. 2025 is much better. Then you can just cruise along and kind of release in 2025. But if this is more like a ongoing thing that you feel that you're being too much looked into, then you need to start thinking towards different plans and different ideas and different action plan. Okay. All right. I think that really wraps up the questions, and I finally want to thank Monica and Komal for their support in actually bringing this topic to fruition. My special thanks to Gokul for the coordination and support. And hey, Gokul, I had one more slide. Sorry, just a second. My apologies there. Can you quickly? Yeah. All right. Sorry about that. And then finally, as I said, right, there is a bonus slide. Think about, as a leader, you are here. But as I said, right, the state of mind actually determines the state of matters. Not just looking at your team, think about your life also. How are you growing in your profession? Put 1 to 10, whatever your score is. How are you growing in financial? 1 to 10. Wellness. The most important aspect I work with people in coaching is professional and wellness. We as IT professionals consciously say everything is good, but subconsciously everybody has their own share of troubles. So use this wheel of life for additional assessment after this session, and then I hope this truly helps you. And finally, my name is Kamal Soan, and you can reach out to me through these details, and you can follow me on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram. All right. I once again thank PMI Pearl City Hyderabad for giving me this opportunity, and back to you, Gokul. Thank you.
Thank you. Let me share the screen and a couple of small things, announcements that we have. We have upcoming PMP and ACP workshops coming up. If anybody from your friends or family wants to get the certification, here is the WhatsApp and email address that you can reach out to. And if there are any corporate inquiries that is required, for example, in your corporate, any specific project management related sessions that you require customized, please reach out to corporate this email. We will get back to you. And there is an upcoming session on Agile series tomorrow, embracing AI for Agile, unlocking smarter ways of working, by our board member, Mr. Vinay Babu Tarala, tomorrow at 10 a.m. If you're not registered, please register. This is going to be an exciting webinar as well. And there is a big conference coming up in December. Registrations are open. There is a QR code here for registration. And right now, early bird registration is happening. So please go ahead and register if not. This is going to be a very good conference where we are discussing about Agile Next, navigating Agile practices beyond boundaries. Some good speakers are lined up. We will shortly announce the speakers. So go ahead and register if not registered yet. And thank you, Kamal. Thank you for your time today. I know it's early morning for you. So as a token of gratitude, we are planting 5 trees in the Sundarban forest area. Hope you should have received an email either today or tomorrow with the location so that you can see the trees growing at any particular point of time. And thank you again for your time. And it's a wonderful session. We learned a lot, especially for me, Clifton strengths and self-strategy, self-learning of how to manage ourselves is one of the things, great takeaways from this session. Many people are asking for the PowerPoint presentation. If you can, that would be helpful. I will share that presentation along with the recording in our channels. So it would be helpful for others. It's entirely up to you. So that's from our side. And last but not least, there will be a PDU, as I said, will be awarded to all the people. And if you didn't receive your PDU in the next week, please reach out to events@pmi-pcc.org with your correct PMI ID. We will get the PDU awarded to you. Thank you again. Thank you for joining on the Saturday evening. Thank you for your time. I appreciate all of you, and especially Kamal. Appreciate that on weekend and early morning. Thank you.
Thanks all.
Yeah. So with that, we are at the end of this session. So we are 10 minutes ahead of this session. So I'm going now and stopping the session. And thank you all. We'll reach out to you, Kamal, whenever for any further sessions or anything. So thank you.